I can hardly believe what I just saw. A former president of the United States, Donald Trump, humiliating himself and embarrassing our country, standing next to one of the bravest leaders in the world today. Just watch.
Look, this is a meeting, and we have a big race going on right now. I guess 37 days left, and we're leading in the polls, and so we'll see how it all works out. Hopefully it'll work out, but if it does, we're going to work very much with both parties to try and get this settled and get it worked out.
President Zelensky is holding his nation together with both hands, doing everything he can to resist Russia's brutal attack. And after Ukraine wins, which it will if America has its back, the example set by Zelensky will be one for the ages. And Donald Trump chooses this moment to try to turn President Zelensky into a campaign prop. It's disgusting.
And I will say I've had a great relationship. It was very honorable. I don't even know if you know this, but when they did the impeachment hoax, it was a hoax, just a Democrat hoax, which we won. But one of the reasons we won it so easily is that when the president was asked, it was over a phone call with the president, and he said he could have grandstanded and played cute, but he didn't do that. He said, President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. He said it loud and clear, and the impeachment hoax died right there. He could have said, well, I don't know, I don't know. And I never even told you this, to be honest, but he was like a piece of steel. He said President Trump did nothing wrong. We had a very nice call. He congratulated me on his victory. It just won. And I remember that he could have played cute, and he didn't play cute, and so I appreciated that. So we have a very good relationship, and I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have. Oh, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango. You know, and.
I suspect that deep down, Donald Trump knows that he will never measure up to the man next to him. He is obviously uncomfortable standing there, and if Donald Trump has any self-awareness at all, it's probably because he knows deep down he is nothing compared to the giant of a man he's with. I'm talking, of course, about moral stature. By every measure that matters, courage, integrity, loyalty, Donald Trump doesn't deserve to sit in Zelensky's shadow. And so he compensates with bluster. Just days earlier, Trump was insulting Zelensky.
I watched him. We will win. We will. He's been saying that for 3 years. Every time Zelensky comes to the United States, he walks away with $100 billion. I think he's the greatest salesman on earth.
Can you picture Donald Trump saying any of this to President Zelensky's face? Of course not. Because Donald Trump is a bully, and deep down, all bullies are cowards. Trump says he would bring peace to Ukraine. Believe me, the only way for the Ukrainian people to know real peace is to win. And yet Trump's plan would cede everything Russia has taken so far. That's not peace, it's surrender. And the Ukrainians living in those territories would be condemned. Here is what Donald Trump's peace would look like. We're just off the main road in a village in Kherson Oblast. We just drove through and nothing was left standing by the Russians. Even the smallest little farm shack was blown apart. Pock marks in the walls, if the walls were even standing. We're at this gas station, which I guess arguably could be considered a target, but everything around has been leveled by the Russians. And the Ukrainians, in spite of it, are building back. It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch network in a village on the right bank of the Dnipro River that was occupied by the Russians for 9 months. As part of their assault, they shelled this school, tore the facade off, broke every window, and sent the kids fleeing for their lives. They spent 9 months hiding, many of them in basements. obviously missing any semblance of an education, much less a sense of social life or normalcy or community. But again, the most amazing thing about the Ukrainian people is their resilience. If this were a school in America, I think it would probably be condemned. They are going to classes here right now. I talked to the security guard, though. We sometimes, I guess, to reassure ourselves, create these myths about the resilience of children. And yeah, they are brave. They are incredibly tough. But I asked the security guard who keeps watch here about that, and he just broke down and conveyed through our interpreter that they shouldn't have to be that brave. They shouldn't have to be that tough, because they're just kids. Donald Trump has also said Ukraine is gone.
Because Ukraine is gone. It's not Ukraine anymore.
Believe me, Ukraine is not gone. I was just there. The fighting spirit of the Ukrainian people remains unshaken. To a person, everyone I talked to said the only way to guarantee their freedom was to defeat Vladimir Putin's army. I met this young soldier at a memorial in Kyiv. He was tending to the flag of his father's unit, brushing it off, straightening the pole planted in the ground. His father is still missing from the early days of the full invasion. His body is likely still laying in a field somewhere in Russian-controlled territory. I spoke to wives, fathers, sons, and daughters, Ukrainians who have endured the unimaginable, including a father who lost his entire family, his wife and 3 daughters, to a Russian missile strike. They all told me that the only way out of this is to win. They know something that apparently Donald Trump does not. Putin will not stop until he is stopped. Every one of Russia's neighbors knows this. If you really want to understand the threat Russia poses, talk to the countries who share a border. They know what's coming if Putin isn't stopped now. And no one in those countries expects America to send troops. So when Trump says he'll get America out of Ukraine, he's just lying.
But we're stuck in that war unless I'm president. I'll get it done. I'll get it negotiated. I'll get out. We got to get out. Biden says, we will not leave until we win. What happens if they win? They're not going to be satisfied until they send American kids over to Ukraine, and that's what they're trying to do. And the moms and dads of America don't want their kids fighting Ukraine and Russia, and we're not going to have our soldiers die across the ocean.
It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break here because I have 2 favors to ask. We're off to a great start with the Ken Harbaugh Show on YouTube, but the podcast needs a little love. Please click the link below to follow, rate, and review. The success of shows like this really does depend on those ratings. And if you haven't yet followed me on Patreon, please check it out. It's free to sign up, or you can pitch in a few bucks a month. Every dollar goes back into this show and our pro-democracy efforts, including the reporting from Ukraine. Go to patreon.com/Ken Harbaugh. Thanks for the support. Ukraine simply wants the means to defend itself. It needs American weapons and permission to use them. Every day, dozens of missiles and drones are launched against civilian targets in Ukraine. This is an apartment complex in Kharkiv struck by an unguided Russian glide bomb as I was headed into that city 2 weeks ago. On that day, there were 5 of these attacks in Kharkiv alone. Russia has kidnapped thousands of Ukrainian children. I talked to the director of an orphanage that was raided by the Russians. Children as young as 4 months were rounded up and sent to Russia. They've since been used in propaganda videos. There are no words to describe Russia's depravity. Yet Donald Trump doesn't blame Putin. He blames America. Every chance he gets, Trump blames America. Listen.
And it's our fault because it's a war that should have never been allowed to happen, and we had the power that it would never have happened.
To my Ukrainian friends, let me say that the vast majority of Americans are with you and will remain with you as long as it takes. I will be back in Ukraine in January, reporting the truth about what is happening there, regardless of who wins our election in November. And to any Americans still in doubt over which candidate would stand up to Putin and defend democracy, I'll simply leave you with this.
It should stop, and the president wants it to stop, and I'm sure President Putin wants it to stop.
Putin started this war, and he could end it tomorrow if he simply withdrew his troops from Ukraine's sovereign territory. Of course, he has demonstrated no intention of doing that. Instead, he continues to assault civilian infrastructure and terrorize the people of Ukraine.
Situation.
Do you believe that Ukraine should turn over some of its own land to Russia in order to end the war?
We'll see what happens.
There are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations. These proposals are the same of those of Putin. And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender, which is dangerous and unacceptable.
So we have a very good relationship, and I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango, you know, and we will.
Well, President Zelensky, it is good to see you again. This is our 7th visit together, and welcome back to Washington, D.C. As I have made clear on our 6 previous meetings and throughout Putin's brutal aggression and war against Ukraine, my support for the people of Ukraine is unwavering. I've been proud to stand with Ukraine. I will continue to stand with Ukraine, and I will work to ensure Ukraine prevails in this war.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.